Dez, you need to get one too.
I'm good, bro.
Hey, Lucas
ain't touching no damn tablets,
man.
Nothing.
I'm telling you, change his life. Come on, some Pokemon.
Corrupt the kids.
But let's get this started, though. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Joshua Freeman. As always, to my left, I got Mr. Brian Carey. To my right, I got Mr. Desmond Tillman. Hope you guys are doing well today. I know Desmond is tired. Tired, boss.
It's 9:03 on the East Coast.
You said what?
I said it's 9:03 on the East Coast. Time to go to sleep.
Yeah, if y'all on the West Coast, enjoy that. Plus the weather too. But don't forget, we do have timestamps in the actual video, or actually the description of the video. So remember, go down there, see what you want to watch, click on it. All right. But the topic I want to get into today is, you guys, of course, everybody should know anyway about the partnership Jay Z has done with the NFL. You also should know about the backlash that he has received about it. So the question I want to ask: do you feel the partnership is more of a business choice, or is it more of a catalyst for social change?
So immediately once I heard this, so I watched the press release. It was actually kind of difficult to find the actual release as opposed to finding commentary about it, like the one that was on ESPN.
Yeah, before you go, I wanna mention that sure. Jay Z did say that he said the deal isn't about selling an album, but instead about harnessing the league's powerful platform to tackle issues like racial injustice head on.
Right.
And the insider said the NFL has agreed to proposals such as including tracks from Roc Nation artists across broadcast, with profits to the league's Inspire Change program. And also they're working together on job creation and community initiatives in cities. The sports play also, just like he basically did for the Barclays Center and the NBA. And the NFL will provide content for streaming services like player podcasts and issue-based docs. Jay also hopes to address the lack of black quarterbacks, plus diversity in team ownership and executive leadership too. Okay, and he will also most likely take ownership on a team in the near future too.
Yeah, that hadn't been announced for like what team, but he's gonna have a significant. They said the wording they chose was a significant amount of interest or something like to that effect in a particular team.
He gonna move a football team to Brooklyn. That's what he gonna do.
Please don't.
He said, "Please don't."
Please don't.
Nah, I think he learned his lesson from the first time. But go ahead, what you saying?
Oh, I'm sorry. But so I really looked at it objectively, and so I watched the content, and it was like 46 minutes. But it was much easier to find commentary on it than it was actually find the actual press release. So upon watching it, I figured I was able to, in my opinion, I think it was more of a catalyst for social change, if anything. Because even if you just look at Jay Z's record, so look at everything that he's accomplished up to this point, like everything he said there's 365 days in a year. He could tell you everything that he's did last year, like it's in the records. For example, like back when he did the project in Africa for Water for Life, and then what he's done recently with Meek Mill and 21 Savage, and then I read something where he had helped Lil Wayne back when he was having tax trouble, and then like these the series of documentaries he's been producing, like Trayvon Martin, and there's another one, and then there's also one he's producing. It's a 6-part series for Meek Mill that's unreleased yet. Like they're still in it's still in the process of producing it. So he's done all this social change and all these things that have been very progressive, and they have actual tangible results. You can see what he's done, and I don't see why there's any issue with people saying, oh, he's sold out, because how far is the protest going to take you? Because so even when we talked about Blue for Sedan, then we talked about how changing your profile picture, the awareness is cool, like it's okay that you know what's going on, but then it's a second part too. It's a follow-up. What are we going to do? And I feel like this is the mobilization of the troops. This is actually going out and bridging the gap, because the NFL, from what I've seen, is like they actually want to make the effort to make the change, and this is the next step towards that. So we should grant them that courtesy.
Okay.
I'm gonna let y'all take the lead on this, because y'all got, first-hand experience with.
Because I was at the press release, right?
Well, I'm talking about just first-hand experiences, knowledge.
I was about to say, you and Jay Z's click. Everything that's happened.
First-hand experience as far as knowledge, like.
Wait, what do you say? You don't?
No, I don't. I mean, from like the actual, like, what's the word I want to use? Like the actual press conference with Roger Goodell, I didn't watch it. I didn't really look into it. But I mean, kind of like how Brian said a lot, where you think it's a lot of initiative for social injustices, bridging the gap. Those all ring with things that he said in the past, because I remember when he did his interview with the dude from the New York Times, and I remember one thing that the guy had asked him about was pertaining to like the comparisons between like NFL and the NBA, and how he just applauded Adam Silver for how aware he was of not only just basketball and the business behind it, but the magnitude of like impact it has as far as like communities, whether it be minority or foreign alike. Like basketball brings people together, and if you have somebody that is able to like acknowledge and capitalize on that, it's gonna synonymously bridge a gap. And I think that NFL, you know, just assuming based off of like the decision that they've made, they don't have those people in play. It's obvious that they don't have those people in play. Like, yeah, it's a predominantly black league, but it's not predominantly black owners. It's not predominantly black figureheads in place that can essentially, you know, provide some form of like information or insight on what actually goes in the lives of like your predominantly black athletes. So you have somebody that can give you firsthand experience on top of accomplishing it. I mean, let's be real. He's also accomplished his business ventures as far as what he wants to accomplish, you know, financially and setting up his kids. Like it's an obvious, like very obvious decision that he's making. But it also is like, it's like the secondary benefit. People are thinking that his secondary benefit of partnering with the league is his primary benefit, when the primary benefit is the people right. that get the benefit from it. Like to call him a sellout because he's partnering with the NFL, despite supporting Kaepernick or, you know, anybody that has supported the kneeling. I think it's an exact replication of people not understanding chess versus checkers. Like I know on the Breakfast Club this morning they were talking about it, and who's on the show? I can't remember who was on the show, but she alluded to when Martin died, people didn't stop marching. Like if the protests have stalled, where it's like people are still kneeling but there's no progress, then you don't just keep kneeling. Somebody has to show the initiative, and somebody that has the financial, you know, power and social power to make those changes would be like a Jay Z. Like I remember. What
changes are you talking about exactly?
Like I think there's a lot of changes. I feel like having him in play can, you know, potentially.
Because when I ask what changes, I mean, you say like making things better in the community, but the real issue was what Kaepernick did as far as bringing attention, using the NFL as a platform for police brutality. And I'm thinking, how is Jay Z being in this position going to help that? He will definitely help the non-minority leadership in the NFL and everything like that.
So he was saying to collaborate more. So people with issues such as something they care about, like Colin Kaepernick, was the police brutality. That's the whole reason he was kneeling in the first place. So he wants to collaborate with players like this. So if you have a cause you're passionate about, to provide you a vehicle to where you can actually mobilize and materialize and make something out of it. So that's kind of what this partnership is about. It's not just saying that they're about one issue. He wants to attack a multitude of social issues.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the issue as far as Kaepernick. The issue as far as Kaepernick. How exactly is he going to fix, I guess you could say, police brutality? Yes. How is he going to do that? Yes.
You have to talk to him
because I feel that's more about perception, if anything. You know what I mean? I feel you can have more black people in leadership roles in the NFL, but is that really going to stop the cop from fearing for their life against his black youth? You know what I mean?
Well, he mentioned that too. He was saying, so like you can't have. He acknowledged the fact that you can't have officers policing communities that they're afraid of the people.
Yeah, but how is he going to? The NFL is not in charge of the police.
They're not.
So how is partnering with the NFL How is partnering with the NFL going to improve relations with the police?
So for example, there was when I was an RA. This is a very low scale example, but college kids, you know how they hate the police. They always break into parties and stuff like that. So the HRL housing residence life, they put together an event to where the RAs could have a social event with the police, because even with the RAs, we had times where we would disagree with the police how they handle situations. Maybe they were rude and insensitive towards the subject, where somebody was needed help, and they was passed out, and he's like, oh, this is just another drunk college student passed out in their own vomit, and they act like they weren't taking it seriously. So there was an event to where we could have donuts and coffee with them. I didn't go to it because I had class or something like that, but just the opportunity to have a space where you can bridge that gap and have some kind of connection or build some kind of long-standing relationship with the other party to make some kind of change. Just the opportunity.
I'm sorry. Did you answer how Jay Z would do that though? With the
I'm
NFL?
saying that's an example. So let's say like you're going into the communities, and so maybe bridging that gap by making an event where the police officers can go into the schools.
Yeah, as you say that, there has been like other rappers and stuff like that has actually talked to police captains and I feel that's
like
fine.
Nipsey was supposed to. Well, he was in the talks with them. Wasn't
Yeah,
he?
I feel like there's a lot of rappers that actually went and talked to police captains and talked about actually the perception aspect and like getting these bad apples out of the department and you know what I mean. So I mean that in that aspect is cool, but I just don't understand how exactly on his platform as I understand how he will do more diversity as far as leadership roles in the NFL, but I just don't understand how he will improve social relations. If anything, I feel he's trying to improve cultural relations with the cultural aspect of the NFL by changing the improving more diversity in leadership roles. You know what I mean? I don't feel he's more. I'm not saying I don't feel. I'm not saying he's a sellout either.
But you're questioning it.
I'm just questioning how exactly he's going to do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
So yeah, look at the partnership with the NFL. Do you know how many people watched the Super Bowl this past year?
Last year?
No, this year, 2019.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. I'm thinking no, I don't know.
I think it was something like 98.2 million people.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
This was the lowest number since 2008. So 98.2 million people, that's still like a large amount of the population. So you could think that they had that amount of sway to where they can influence or at least be in front of the eyes of that many people. So why would you not want to collaborate with somebody who provides that kind of audience?
For the Super Bowl.
I'm saying that's just the viewership for the NFL. That's one of their biggest event.
Yeah.
So you have access to those eyes that are on the screen at that time.
Yeah. Okay, did you answer the question? How is that going to improve the relationship? Was he going to do more? He going to have Beyonce come in and do the formation?
I don't look in terms. If you're looking for specific events, of course we can't provide that
because that's part of it. Because I thought you mentioned it because that's part of it. Because he is doing something with he's producing the Super Bowl this year. That's what he's doing.
That's not what
that's what I thought you was alluding to.
But I'm just talking about the amount of influence he has with the NFL. Because you say that, of course, that they can't directly mandate things with police officers or go directly into the communities and make laws and stuff like that in legislature. But
they're not the local government.
Yeah, they're not. But the NFL, they still have a very large amount of influence.
Exactly. But I'm just asking, how is he going to do that? I'm asking, how is he going to actually?
I think it's like, for me, I think it's obvious because, elaborating off of what he said about Adam Silver, and you think about how big NBA Cares is in communities. If you're coming in with an agenda of social equality, and if you push the same agenda through the NFL that NBA Care does as far as like building communities, then it's very, very likely for an example like Brian presented to where NFL players in the specific cities or communities that they play in, bridging with police,
bringing
everybody together,
community,
like
police,
players, community, police, and then you build a community. You show through that process, like you can't help but integrate. Like you got Cleveland. All you need is Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham to show up. You got the Jets. All you need is Saquon Barkley and Eli Manning to show up. You got the Falcons. All you need is Julio Jones and Deontay Freeman, or even Matt Ryan. You got New Orleans.
I'm asking, would these players doing that in their individual cities, would that help with perception? That's what I'm asking.
It'll help somewhere.
I think it's going to help everywhere.
Okay.
I'm saying at the bare minimum, it's going to help somewhere. Like,
what do you mean? Like, break down your
perception as far as the police officers, because police brutality. Mostly fear of the police officers coming from that black individual, which results in them shooting that unarmed individual more than likely, right? I'm asking, how would that perception of fear go down? That's what I'm asking.
By integration.
Okay.
By understanding.
What I'm saying is that you only need the figureheads to show up to attract the crowd. Once the crowd is there, and once you get people, obviously with an NFL event, it's going to be very, very organized. It's going to be high police presence. There's going to be high community presence. And there's probably also going to be I'm not even going to say private security, but there's going to be people there to keep everything in check. If you keep everything strictly regulated, and I'm almost to the point where you're forcing a interaction, but for a genuine cause, you're forcing the community to come together with the police because there is an NFL superstar present for a genuine cause of building a community. That's what I'm saying. Like, Jay Z is not going to fly in on a helicopter or, you know, ride through on like a motorcade and like, I mean, that's not to say that he won't do it, but he's not going to like to be the person there leading the way in all 32 cities.
Right. He understands. He understands it's bigger than him.
Like, I mean, I feel.
Okay, I was just asking, like, how exactly is he going to do that? I mean, if he's going to do that with individual cities, and I hope that's a good idea, but I just don't look at NBA players on the same.
And I mean, think about
seriousness as NFL.
I think Jay Z is also very, very aware of how unfair people are in the sense of you're trying to reunite with the cops or do this, that, and the third, but yet you sold coke or you sold crack to your mom, you shot your brother, like things like that. Like, people are really quick to throw in the fact that you were a nuisance to your own neighborhood or your own projects at one point. To sit there and like just put in place like guidelines and expectations, that's enough to get it done in itself.
And so what you were saying about community building, so through community building, that compassion develops because you start to appreciate one another and actually build relationships. Of course, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a process. Like a friendship, for example.
I'm not saying it'll happen overnight. You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, even look at, like, he's very, like, few of the people in his role as, like, a partner with the NFL that has ownership experience with a team. Like, whether you want to label it as success or not, like, he knows how to bring a community together. He knows how to gain or attract attention. Like, it's all about using what you're good at doing for a different cause. Like, he could literally show up to, I mean, just look at how it was at Something in the Water. Like, you show up and people just go crazy. Mm-hmm. People are like mesmerized by just meeting you. So if you're coming to an event that is, you know, centered around bringing police and black communities together, and you are leading the way with integrating with the police in that community, I mean, people are going to follow that lead. Like, if you're sitting here shaking police hands, you're not going to expect somebody to walk by and just say fuck the police.
And not just shaking the hands too, but actually the
talking with them, conversing with them, like building a genuine bond.
Like, it's easy to do that show, but actually putting in the work and providing those opportunities to where they can establish those relationships.
And I think the reason why I'm diverting away from necessarily Jay-Z's hand in the actual cities is because I think having him at every single venue just becomes oversaturated at some point. Whereas if you have the people that actually play for the city leading the way, and Jay-Z is just like the invisible hand.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think that's what he wants. Huh? He doesn't want this to be all about him either. That was also talked about in the press conference. Like, along with that being bigger than him, he wants to take a backseat role. For example, like in one of the other press conferences he was at recently, he actually took a backseat role with the Reform Alliance, the thing he has with Meek Mill and Kraft.
Oh, okay.
You familiar with that?
Yeah. And that's not to say, like, I don't fault people for feeling the way they do about thinking that he sold out. I just blame that on their own ignorance of like how the system, as far as like just business works, like how things are affected. Like, you can't change a narrative from the outside in. You have to change it from the inside out. And if you don't have anybody with substantial like pull to be on the inside, then you're just going to sit here and have what you continuously have with people protesting year in and year out, but not seeing any like genuine change or genuine desire from the NFL to help.
I mean, yes, about the protest. I mean, yes, it was a protest, but it wasn't the Montgomery bus boycott where you cutting off their funds. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, people might say, like, I'm done watching the NFL.
I mean,
they talking about the flag.
The NFL viewership did go down. This is the first year. The Super Bowl
it still was the highest grossing sport in the United States.
I understand that, but it's a lower viewership than it was last year, the Super Bowl.
Maybe because of the rules. You ever thought about that? The rules, maybe
that could have been a factor.
More the rules than the actual.
But I'm just speaking numbers.
Yeah, I'm speaking numbers, and as far as the numbers go, they're still the highest grossing. But
they are.
But I mean, what are you gonna expect? You're gonna expect Colin Kaepernick to park his damn car in front of all the entrances to the arena and say, "No, we're not playing today." Like, that's like the biggest impact he could have had in his position.
No, not actually, not him.
As a player?
Him himself. Yes, I'm talking about. I actually mentioned this before. If everybody actually refused to play or something like that, then it will be even more. That you definitely cut into
that.
Too many people depend on the NFL.
Yeah.
Too many people depend on the NFL.
Yeah.
People like who? Fans?
Like line,
No, like the families.
Like how you mentioned how like certain players.
Oh,
get paid like that.
Yeah,
like,
of course. That's why they're not. Yeah, of course. That's why they're not.
Of course, they could do that. They could mobilize all at once and have that massive effect.
But that's so true.
You can't necessarily expect that from them either.
Yeah, because Kaepernick, the aftermath of that, he didn't have a job. I mean, of course, if they didn't have a job, then that would be the aftermath. But I mean, there's going to be aftermaths to it, though. I mean, but the other thing, as far as Jay Z, I think I want to say it's a problem, but the other thing he mentioned was like everybody knows what's the problem is. Everybody knows what you guys was kneeling for, and I don't agree with that. I don't believe everybody knows exactly what they was kneeling for.
I feel enough people.
I think he's saying that because we're like 3 years removed from it.
And it's like, how much longer do we have to just?
I don't think it's irrelevant.
You don't think it's relevant?
I think it's irrelevant because we've said over and over again why he's kneeling, and if people choose not to agree with why he's kneeling and they want to say it as disrespect, then that's their fault. Like the narrative has been pushed through every possible media outlet why he's kneeling. So people know why he's kneeling. They're just willfully choosing.
Every news outlet.
CNN, you can look at
Fox
CNN.
News.
You could Fox News. You can't affect. We had this talk last week, man. You can't like Fox News is its own. But I mean,
there actually is a benefit of the partnership between Roc Nation and NFL too. So Jay Z was saying, okay, so you're kneeling. That's a physical act that was bringing awareness to it. But by you having a platform and actually going out and you can create the narrative, people can't spin that narrative in the same way. So for example, it was a very teachable moment for like my grandfather. So during the kneeling protest, and he was watching the football game around Thanksgiving time that year, and he was saying about how they was disrespecting the service and kneeling. And I stopped him and I let him get that out first. But then I explained to him what the protest was actually about. And just because the narrative was not to be misconstrued in the media outlets that he had seen, he was misinformed about it to no part of his own. It was just what he had heard. So that was his understanding of it. But I educated him on that, and he said thank you for he was actually grateful that I told him what the protest was actually about. So now the fact that we've been kneeling and people, you can never 100% educate everybody, but it's aware and on the maps and the conscious of enough people to where the point is now we can do something.
Yeah, and I mean just think about him being in the position that he's in. That gives. I honestly think it benefits Colin Kaepernick.
Really?
I think it does. Like,
I'm agreeing with
you. What do you mean?
Like, I think it. So obviously, you can say that he's been blackballed and not, essentially given a voice within the NFL. You have somebody that you've worked side by side with that now has potentially one of like the biggest voices in the NFL next to the commissioner. Mm-hmm. What's to say that, obviously Kaepernick might not play again. What's to say that he's not leading the city-to-city team?
I don't think Kaepernick will play again. But that doesn't necessarily have to do with the NFL. That's just. I mean, like that's business, really.
You think personally he won't play again?
No, personally, if he was given a chance, yes. But I'm thinking because of his age and because he wasn't the best quarterback anyway. I mean. But that brings the question: if he was Tom Brady, then how would this be? But that's another.
I don't even think it's a discussion that needs to happen because it's just based off of what if.
Yeah,
I think something of this magnitude can't be based off of what if.
But as far as the business aspect, it's not even just the NFL, NBA, probably all sports. They go for the youngest thing. So I mean, they have another. You know how many quarterbacks come out in the draft? I mean, they're not going to waste their time bringing back someone.
Look how long RG3 was around.
RG3's actually back. He's actually.
No, I'm saying in terms of like his prime condition.
Oh yeah. I mean, he got injured.
He's a hot prospect. Exactly. I'm saying like that comes with the risk of being in the league, does it not?
Yeah. But the other thing I really do hope he's doing. I mean, I'm not saying I disagree with the deal at all either. The other thing I hope he does is actually address the pay gap with the NFL as far as either increasing the salary, doing something about the money, but the pay gap is ridiculous.
As opposed to the amount that the players are compensated versus the amount of revenue the NFL generates?
Yes.
Oh, you're talking about that one.
Well, I was talking about all of the above, to be honest
like
with you.
how a wide receiver makes X amount of dollars and then a lineman barely pushing seven figures.
I never saw the salaries. I never looked into
Think about I'm not sure if you like would have been reading like anything ESPN related, but
probably not.
when Le'Veon Bell was protesting, one of his linemen came out and said, like, we have to play. Like, we're not even making nearly the amount of money that he's making, but yet he's protesting, or you could call it protesting, not to play because he's not getting necessarily the figure that he wanted. Like, just imagine if, the linemen protested because they aren't getting the figure that they wanted. Somebody's going to come in and just replace them.
So also, doesn't they have to go into the fact that there's a value system assigned to players based on their positions? Because if you look at the longevity of the league, a lineman lasts a lot longer than a running back does, or a wide receiver, for example. That's the example you use, right?
Yeah.
Just look at the terms of longevity. So it really, the NFL is a business.
So you're saying
you're looking for a return?
So you're saying
I'm saying
that you shouldn't pay the linebacker?
I understand what's going on. Like, I understand why the rate, but I do agree that the gap, the disparity between the two should be lessened.
I wasn't even talking about just position. No, I was talking about as far as other sports too. Because NBA, I mean,
I was addressing Desmond's point.
Oh, okay, but I was.
So you're talking about the gap between how much money the NBA makes? Are you talking I
don't know
percentage wise, like percentage of the players make of the revenue?
Yes, as far as the comparisons of the players, basically, the salary.
I don't think anyone at the table disagree with you.
I think if you do that though, then you look at roster sizes diminishing. Because I mean, we can pull up the NBA and we could talk about their figures, but we're talking about their figures based off an 11-man roster.
That has that has less to do with it, honestly. To be honest with you, because I can't really break it down.
Yeah, how could you say that?
Break down the actual. Because what he first talked about was the pay gap between the positions. One, probably like the second or third, let's say cornerback or something like that. It's probably making what, $500K, if that, a year. You know what I mean? So I feel that I just feel as the gap is way worse. You know what I mean? That's what
You're just saying the difference is greater.
Yeah. I feel like the difference is way greater, to be honest with you.
But there's always gonna be a difference to some degree. For example, like your starter's gonna get paid more than your third string person.
Yeah.
Obviously, which I feel like you'd be right in doing so.
But he was just talking about the amount of people on the team and then the amount of cap. I'm guessing you're talking about. But even with that, I mean,
there's a surplus of funds.
Say them time.
There's a surplus of funds. Like, there's a lot of revenue. There's a lot of money to be spread around. Nobody. There's enough to spread around with the fact that they can have more, and then still nobody will be starving.
I mean, I get that, but then you're also like trying to tell people what to do with their money at the same time.
You mean the owners?
Yeah, like, I'm not saying that I'm advocating for them not being.
So how would you describe the NFL? The NFL makes way more money than an NBA. Even something like the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is like, I remember when I was in high school and my teacher asked like the class, he was like, "What do you guys think is the most popular sport?" I'm like, "Baseball." You know how much they get paid? That's wild. He's like, "No, football is." But you think about the Super Bowl, that's like the biggest event in February. You know what I mean? Black History Month, but that's like the biggest event in February. You know what I mean? So the fact with that alone, the amount of money that the NFL generates from that alone, I mean, they have to be paid more, especially with the risk that's involved with this sport. Like you said, the life of a running back isn't as nearly as high as the life of a linebacker. You know what I mean? So
lineman.
Yeah, lineman. Well, linebacker, same thing.
Linebacker, that'd be comparable, I'd say.
Wait, you talking about lineman as in defense?
Oh, no, like lineman.
Oh,
like how I was using
guard, tackle.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that, to be honest with
you. I thought you would have caught that.
Nah, I thought you were talking about like linebackers as far, but I was like, oh, interesting. But yeah, that's what I was referring to. But I really hope that changes as far as just the pay gap. I hope that is one of the main things that changes. Like, if he does become an owner, I hope he just doesn't become just like any other owner.
Roc Nation is also sports management. That's what they're.
He has to give that up though.
You see, he has to get that up. What do you mean?
You talking about his agency?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has to give that up before he owns the team because
you can't be an agent. You can't be like an agent and an owner.
Yeah.
I saw something where that wouldn't be a conflict of interest, and that came across when I was reading some articles.
I mean, think about it. He had to sell his stake in the Nets.
Yeah, he had to sell his stake in the Nets.
Yeah, I do understand that.
Yeah, but he has to.
What I'm saying, that's what Roc Nation itself was. It's a sports agency, right?
Yeah.
So they advocate for their clients. So who's to say they wouldn't take that same interest and extend it to this program as well, to be an advocate for the play? Like, they're already advocating for issues that the players care about. So why not actually advocate for the players?
Because you're getting money from the NFL, not just the players.
Just because they're getting money from the NFL.
Yeah, as an agency, you're getting the money from the players, and that's why you have to be true to the players. You're getting money straight from them. As an NFL, I mean, do you really have to be wary of the fans when you're getting money from?
I'm sorry,
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, I know. Okay. That's a very pessimistic way of looking at it. And so, like,
my thing is though is that don't you have the player unions in place for that specific reason?
What specific reason?
Like wage gaps.
Yeah.
Because I mean, think about how I mean the lockout, what was it, like 2010, 2011 for the NBA?
I don't know exactly yet.
Like,
sounds about right.
It's like hella recent. Like, when was the last time there was an NFL lockout?
I think it's because of that, though. I don't know the specifics of it, but I think it's because of the union. I believe it's something. They I think they have some type of deal every few years to discuss the salary and stuff like that, and they have to agree. And just because they agree with it doesn't mean it's right. It's good. Like. Okay. They still could be paid more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's what you looking it up?
Yeah, I was looking at the trying to find the last lockout for the NFL.
Oh, okay. But do you interject?
2011.
Nah, it was the same lockout for NFL, same time NBA.
Oh, for just for
that's the last one I see.
Oh, okay.
Just from March 12th to July 25th, 2011.
That's not a legit lockout. That's a lockout during the offseason. NBA's lockout was like during.
It was actually during the season. Yeah.
See, I don't think that's. I think I remember that. It was just like a disagreement, but but before the season actually started.
They couldn't come into terms about contract negotiations.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do it. I mean, I want everybody to get rich.
Okay. Excuse the outburst. Hey, sorry about that.
But do you guys interject as far as this?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
I'm fine.
You about to go on Jay Z another 15 minutes?
Go on. No, I mean, I'm not saying.
What is he going to do?
I was just asking, like, what is he exactly going to do? Because
let me call Sean out real quick.
Sean, we on the Infusion Breakdown Show podcast. What's up? Yeah, talk to him. What's up?
The people want to know, man. What are you actually planning to do for the?
Listen. It's my terrible Jay Z voice, but
I wasn't gonna say it.
But what do you guys think, though? Is the deal more about a catalyst for social change, or is it more of a business decision? Okay, and remember, don't forget about the timestamps down below in the description. All right. But is there anything else you guys want to say to the audience?
Nah, throw your rocks up in the building.
Come on, or the Rock Boys.
Man, get me up out of here.
We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Welcome to the show. Go and take a seat. Let's talk about the world while taking a sip of tea. A bunch of brothers come together. That's something we love to see. The company can't get no better. We come from running the streets, but we here now. The vibes all good. We survived. We gon' try and show the world inside the minds of some visionary brothers. We only got each other. We don't support each other. Ain't nobody gonna love us. We can talk about the violence, the silence, the Mayans, the stake that the minds in the science, defiance, living and dying and laughing and crying, pure bliss and heartache and quitting and trying. That's real from the heart, truth in the art. To come up in the future, we just gotta play our part. Can we handle that? Let them tear us apart. Infusion Breakdown Show. Go and talk about your thought.
Everyone knows that I